This is serious medicine for a serious problem. The bottom line is that with this law, we're going to save lives in this state.
We're not out there to keep kids from having fun. We're simply out there to keep kids safe, to be able to grow up and enjoy life and to live to their full potential.
Twisted metal, broken glass, and body bags. Despite the constant reminders of how dangerous driving can be, the carnage continues. Car crashes are the leading cause of death for teenagers. More than 5,000 teens die each year on our roads and highways.
It's a major transition.
Since Georgia's driving laws were passed in 1997, thousands of licenses have been revoked and hundreds of lives have been saved. The old laws are tough, but the new laws are even tougher. New legislation makes teen drivers prove they are ready for the responsibility and prepared for the possibilities. Tom Corvin has the story of one Georgia family that believed they did everything right to prepare their son to drive, but tragically discovered their efforts were not enough.
Alan and Lugina Brown only had 17 years with their son Joshua, and most of it was spent right here on their family land near Cartersville. This is where they worked and played, where the Browns pointed their only boy in the direction of responsibility and success. But that short time together is a blur now, and the land that once marked the future now marks the passing of a son killed in a car crash.
Boy, I miss him. I miss him so bad.
3 years have passed, and the Browns still break down every day. This garden in their son's memory lessens the grieving a little, but everything they do now is in the name of Joshua Brown.
What I'm trying to prevent is pain for Mama and Daddy. I don't want anybody to live like we live. I don't want nobody to have to go through what we've been through.
Highway 41, July 3rd, 2003. Joshua's on his way to pick up a buddy for band practice. His truck hydroplanes in the rain. He loses control and goes off the road, hitting this tree that still bears his name and his father's memory of their last conversation on the phone.
And he said, "Dad." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I love you." And I said, "I love you too, Josh." That's the last words we said to each other.
Josh never came out of a coma and died 6 days later.
And it's just a big emptiness. It's the ultimate misery. It's the worst thing that could happen to somebody.
Especially for two parents so close to their child.
He's just a little boy, and he had been eating spaghetti, and I was cleaning him up.
And that's how the Browns raised their boy. The family photo album's full of it. Cute pictures of a clean-cut kid growing up in the country, smiling as he ran on the family land, learning lessons of life a father teaches his young son.
In hindsight, I did everything right but one thing. And he paid the ultimate price for that.
Alan Brown taught Josh to play football, Sports was another reflection of life's lessons. But the trophies also remind him of his loss. He taught Josh how to drive and explained the rules of the road, but it wasn't enough when it counted.
That's a guilt. That's the guilt that I live with. And it's not easy.
And that's why Alan Brown sat down and started the Joshua Brown Foundation. He wanted to change driver's education in Georgia.
You have to be taught by a professional. You have to learn things that Mother and Daddy probably don't know.
And they're learning those things at Cartersville High.
Jacob, do you ever get distracted when you're riding and the friends are with you?
His son's old school is a model of what he believes is needed. A high-tech classroom.
That'll keep you from sliding back.
With real-life conditions.
Have y'all been to the black ice portion yet?
A chance to learn life-saving lessons. The Georgia General Assembly agreed to make it law. Joshua's Law. And now every 16-year-old in Georgia has to pass a certified class to get their driver's license.
You'll never invest in anything better than your child's driver's education.
He believed his father could do anything. And I think with that said, Alan feels like Joshua saying, Daddy, you can do this.
But what Alan Brown hasn't been able to do is go back to where it all started.
For a long time, it wouldn't come this way.
Not until now.
Of course, you can see it's straight downhill. It's almost a 90-degree drop.
And Alan Brown's heart drops with it when he sees what's still here. Faded signs of his son, rusty reminders of the impact on that fatal day.
His pants, they had to cut off of him. Bless his heart.
And this is why Alan Brown wants every Georgia teen driver to have access to driver's education.
I'm so sorry, Josh. I'm so sorry, son.
So other parents don't have to say they're sorry too.
This is my last Father's Day present from Joshua. It's a music box, and it plays my hero.
And Alan Brown is still trying to be a hero to his son. The tears may never stop, but it's angelic symbols like this that confirmed their belief in God and their life's mission.
He knew how to get to his daddy's heart. He sure did.
And Joshua Brown always will.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry he took my son. I'm so sorry. But I know why. I know why.
Joshua Brown's life was short, but his legacy will last forever. Now, every 16-year-old who wants a driver's license will have to pass a certified driver's education course. Driver inexperience continues to be the leading cause of traffic fatalities for teenagers. The Joshua Brown Foundation is working hard to change that. Every year, thousands of Georgia teens lose their privilege to drive. Georgia law enforcement is committed to getting dangerous and irresponsible drivers off the road. Here's Saquon Simba and Eric Wingate with a look at those efforts.
Across the state, cops are cracking down on irresponsible teen drivers, and courts are showing no mercy.
If you have a driving ambition, you better be ready to obey the new laws.
Placing you under arrest.
I'm going to place you under arrest for driving under the influence of alcohol.
Having your driver's license is a privilege. If you can't handle it or you do things that are not responsible enough, we don't need you on the roads.
The driver and passenger were declared dead on the scene.
2 people dead in front, and that pretty much knocked a little bit of sense into me, you know?
This family's loss is just impossible to overstate.
Well, most of the 16-year-olds think they're invincible. They go down the road, and the next thing you know, they have a tree sticking out next to them in the passenger side.
Look right back here for me. He was at one of our classes that we taught at Dunwoody High School. Don't move your head. I want you to turn and walk. What I want you to do is take a deep breath. Blow hard. What I'm going to do right now is place you under arrest for driving under the influence of alcohol. It doesn't appear like he learned his lesson too well. You get anything at all in your pocket, take it out and put it up here. Take your shoes off and leave it sitting right there.
The feeling of having your freedom taken away for the first time, not being able to move where you want to go, is scary enough.
You might not think we're going to get you, but there's enough of us out here. We're going to get you, and we're going to lock you up.
The docket at Clayton County Juvenile Traffic Court is full today.
All right, some of y'all are going to have to come up in front of the rail and stand or sit.
Before this session is over, 9 more teens will lose their driver's licenses.
No, you cannot get a limited permit to go to school or work. You cannot drive for 6 months.
Judge Tracy Gladden is presiding.
I need your license.
And taking away driver's licenses. 16-year-old Eric Bayless lost his license in Clayton County, too.
I was going down the interstate, and I was going about 97 miles an hour, and it's 65, so I was 32 over.
But Eric lost more than his license.
I had a girlfriend for a while, but once I lost my license, it kind of went down after that.
And now, his mom does the driving.
In high school, people don't like their parents taking them places and stuff.
And Eric has learned a lesson that will make a lasting impression.
I could have killed me or the person that was in the car with me, so it was definitely the wrong thing to be doing and stuff, so I'm not ever going to do it again. All right, make sure you're here at 1 to pick me up. Bye.
Georgia's new driving laws are taking thousands of teen drivers off the roads. The law is known as the Teenage and Adult Driver Responsibility Act, or House Bill 681 for short. If you want to drive in the state of Georgia, you better know what it means and obey what it says.
If you're under 21 years old, you will lose your license if you're convicted of committing any one of these violations. DUI, hit and run, leaving the scene of an accident, racing, fleeing or attempting to elude police, reckless driving, speeding 24 or more miles per hour over the speed limit, any violation in which 4 points are charged, and attempting to purchase alcohol as a minor. If you lose your license for any of these violations, then you have to pass your driving test again, take a defensive driving course, and pay a restoration fee.
You may think losing your license is the worst thing that can happen to you, but every year in Georgia, more than 200 teenagers lose their lives in car wrecks. Chances are you've known someone, a friend, a relative, or a classmate who was killed in a car accident. The shock is painful. The sorrow is everlasting. But for one Georgia community, the loss is impossible to measure. Hundreds of people are filling the high school football stadium in Edenton, Georgia, but no games will be played here tonight. This crowd isn't coming to cheer. They're coming to mourn.
Shortly after 1 a.m. Saturday morning, the peace of Putnam County was broken.
Broken by a horrible accident that was the end of life for John Davis, Jonathan Gordon, Tony Oliver, Brian Yance, and Jason Hardy.
There were about 6 firemen here and 3 of my deputies.
In 23 years of law enforcement, Putnam County Sheriff Howard Seals had never seen a single car accident produce so much death.
This Jeep was turned up sideways, and there was a mass of 5 burned bodies right there, huddled together.
This is all that's left of that Jeep. After running off the road and into a ditch, it was launched into the air.
And then slammed it up against the tree like that.
What used to be just another shade tree is a roadside memorial, a place for friends to remember, a place for families to mourn. 5 Putnam County families mourn the loss of a son now. Jason Hardy was the son of Richard and Julie, the first parents to learn their boy was dead.
I've had some people I were real close to that have passed away, and it affected me, but nothing like my child. It just ain't even on the same page.
Richard Hardy does his best to stay focused on his farm now.
It's just I think about him because I miss him so much.
But his chores rarely block his memories of Jason.
I can remember running around the house with him, scaring him, and I can remember it. I mean, from the very first day he was born. Excuse me.
The Hardy family is even closer now, doing their best to fill the gap left by Jason, who brought so much life to their household, yet seemed to predict his own death in this home video.
But tomorrow might not be here for you.
Jason was a happy member of a happy family. He made it a point to never say goodbye to his mother without a hug, a ritual he somehow forgot the night of his death.
He said he'd either be home by 12, maybe even 11:30, and I thought, well, that's okay. I get a hug tomorrow, whatever.
Sorry. You know how devastating the combination of drinking and driving can be. But did you know there's something else teen drivers do every day that's far more deadly? It kills 3 times as many teenagers and causes 4 times as many accidents. Keep doing this, and your license could be gone in a flash. Trooper Mike Kenzie may have saved 4 lives when he pulled over this car full of teenagers.
Is there any kind of reason why you're running this fast? You don't know how fast you're running? 80. I checked you at 102.
Trooper Kenzie knows how dangerous speeding really is.
This is what's causing problems. This is what's getting people killed. Running 102 miles an hour down the road with no seatbelts on and drinking, that's not any way to conduct business, and especially not in the state of Georgia.
Every time you get behind the wheel, you accept a huge responsibility, not only for your own life, but for the lives of other people on the road. It's the power of life and death, right in your own hands.
You know, I wasn't prepared to accept something like this, or even be involved in something like that, much less be responsible for something like this.
Responsibility. It was the last thing on Joe Wiggins' mind that summer night 7 years ago. At 19, he and 3 other underage guys didn't think twice about drinking at a party, piling into a car, and drag racing down Atlanta's Ponce de Leon Avenue.
And just, you know, as soon as I swerved about this far over the line, a Mazda was right there, and I clipped the Mazda.
In that Mazda, 4 adults. Joe Wiggins' reckless driving killed 3 of them, leaving 4 children without parents.
I never really stopped to consider the effect that my choices would actually have on people around me.
Prepare for camp. Prepare for camp.
Prison guards and wardens make all of Joe's choices now. He got 12 years in prison for taking those 3 lives. Now his life is nothing but steel bars, loneliness, and lots of time. Time to feel the burden of his guilt, mourn the lives he ruined, and regret his own young dreams lost.
Look at my life and my choice and what I got for making my choices, and ask yourself if you can accept them. If you can't accept them, don't make the same choices.
Ben Murphy's choices are limited these days too.
I miss my legs. I miss being able to walk around.
The Atlanta teenager got this way in a bad car wreck. He admits by not wearing his seatbelt, he was driving just as foolishly as the speeding teen who hit him.
Your life can change in a matter of seconds. You can go from being completely normal, walking around, to being in a wheelchair like me.
Imagine at your age, always needing someone to help you with the little everyday things you take for granted.
Like being able to scratch my head or go to the bathroom by myself.
Ben has advice for you that he wishes he had heard and listened to.
Don't be reckless and foolish. Buckle up. Wear your seatbelt. You know, it may not seem cool or whatever, but it can save your life, and it can prevent serious injuries.
Ben Murphy will pay the rest of his life for the mistake of another teen driver. But now reckless driving and irresponsible behavior on the roads won't be tolerated in Georgia.
Georgia's license system is making teens prove they're responsible enough to drive. It's known as a graduated driver's license. When you turn 15 years old, you can get an instruction permit. You have to pass a written exam, and you can only drive with another licensed adult driver over the age of 21. You have to have this permit and maintain a safe driving record to move on to the next level of license. That's known as a Class D license. Remember, if you're 16 years old, you must pass a certified driver education course before you can get your Class D license. You have to pass a behind-the-wheel driving test, and there are driving restrictions. You cannot drive between midnight and 6 a.m., no exceptions. And during the first 6 months, you can't drive with any passengers, other than immediate family members. To move to the next level, you have to keep a safe driving record for 12 straight months, and you have to be 18 years old. That's when you can get a Class C license. You have now earned the privilege to drive without restrictions. Georgia's graduated license system has school provisions you really need to understand. No one under 18 can get a driver's license or instruction permit unless they are in school or have graduated. If you drop out of school or have 10 or more days of unexcused absences during the school year, your license will be suspended. You'll also lose your license if you threaten or strike anyone at school, if you have drugs or alcohol on school property, commit any sexual offense, or if you bring a weapon on school grounds. If you do any of those things, you can lose your license until your 18th birthday. Each year, more than 10,000 Georgia students lose their licenses because of school violations. The clear message behind Georgia's driving laws? If you're not responsible enough to stay in school, you're not responsible enough to be behind the wheel.
When's the last time you went to a party and you and your friends were drinking alcohol? You may think having a couple beers or a drink is okay.
But now in Georgia, even one beer can cost you your driver's license. It's called zero tolerance. And what it means is that anyone under the age of 21 is guilty of DUI if their blood alcohol content is 0.02 or higher. You will lose your license automatically for 6 months if your blood alcohol content is between 0.02 and 0.07. And remember, if you are under 21, you can also lose your license for simply trying to purchase alcohol.
If your blood alcohol content is 0.08 or more, you will lose your license for a whole year. If you are under 18 years old, you won't be able to move to the next level in the graduated license system. In fact, you'll have to start over at the very beginning, take all the tests, attend DUI school, perform community service, and pay fines and license restoration fees.
It's obvious drinking and driving will cost you in Georgia. But the new law will send you to jail, too. A mandatory sentence. Any driver, regardless of age, convicted of DUI with a blood alcohol content of 0.08 or more will go to jail for at least 24 hours.
It's the day you've been waiting for, the day you gain your freedom. But it's also the day you accept enormous responsibility, if you're prepared.
Richard Warner is cramming for an exam,
These are the new graduated laws, Richard.
and his mom is helping him.
It says you lose your license, you're on the bus, or you're on MARTA, or you're hoofing it with your 2 feet.
This is one line Richard and other Georgia teens have looked forward to standing in. At the end waits a ticket to independence, popularity, and fun. But before they can call themselves licensed drivers and pass another milestone in life, they have to pass the test.
I want you to obey all the rules of the road as if we're out on the actual street.
Richard's prepared for his test. He's finished a defensive driving class, and his mom has spent time teaching him how to maneuver the family car. Some kids
That's not good.
aren't that lucky.
They're 3 times more likely
to get into a crash than other drivers on the road. And the bottom line is experience, and you can't teach experience.
But you can help them gain it.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
And a few hours going over the fundamentals could be more than educational.
Congratulations.
It could be life-saving.
Welcome to becoming an adult, you know.
Are you ready for the responsibility of driving? Having a driver's license isn't a right. It's a privilege that has to be earned. Every time you get behind the wheel, you have a choice to make, and your choices have consequences. Will your driving cost lives or save lives?